You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis, Wright.
Car crashes, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, The Attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts with The Attorneys of Hollis Wright.
I'd like to welcome you to the show. I'm Mark Franklin. Thanks so much for being here. On this show, we're going to be talking about special needs trusts, ABLE accounts, and how families can protect SSI and Medicaid benefits. We have quite a bit to unpack, but we put together the right team. As always, you've reached The Attorneys. That's the place to go for that good information legally. Also want to remind you, an attorney at Hollis Wright standing by right now to take your call. If you have any questions for them, just give them a call at 1-888-LAW-TALK. That's 1-888-LAW-TALK. It's a free and confidential call. They'd be glad to hear from you. Glad to have you here. Glad to see my buddy Josh again.
Always good to see you each week. Hope you had a great week.
I did.
So we're going to be talking about a great topic today. And the topic relates to kind of what happens after you're successful in an injury case, or what happens if you have certain types of benefits that you want to protect, but you're receiving money or inheritance, those types of things. And it's an important concept that we deal with all the time. It's not just being successful as a law firm for someone's claim. It is making sure that we help them make good decisions in managing their money moving forward. Jenny McInerney is here with us today, and she is an expert in this area. She has been trained from the best in this area over the last 20 years, and I used to actually use who she was trained from for this exact issue, and now she's kind of taken over on it. So welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're really excited to have you kind of talk about this, Jenny. Tell us a little bit about this area of the law, special needs trusts and kind of protecting your benefits. Number one, how did you get into it? And then tell us just a little bit about why this is important to you, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. So I got into this area of the law primarily because I have two children with diagnoses. My middle daughter is 23 and she is disabled, so she's on government benefits. And, you know, I actually adopted my daughter, and when I adopted her, it was a huge transition for me, right? But I saw immediately the need in the community to have experts sort of in this area, you know, helping families navigate this really complex area of the law, where there's just so many nuances, not just with government benefits, but you know, properly planning for their future and ensuring that there is a solid plan in place if the parents were to unexpectedly die. You know, helping families navigate the decision of whether or not to pursue guardianship for their children. You know, helping families understand the IEP process. So I got into this area of the law primarily with a need for representing my daughter, making sure that she was set up for success. And then, you know, my son as well has a diagnosis where he has an IEP, and we've set up a special needs trust for both my daughter and my son. So, you know, I always say I'm never going to recommend something to my clients that I'm not personally using.
I love that, yeah.
Or doing for my own children. Yeah. And so that's sort of how I got into this area.
Sometimes I have found with guests we've had on the show that lawyers have a calling in life that is much grander than being a lawyer, and they use that calling to help service people in the legal world, and you're a great example of that.
Well, thank you.
So you should be commended for that.
Oh, thanks. Well, I know how difficult it can be as a parent with children who are disabled. It's an overwhelming process, and you're having to navigate not just the medical side and the therapy side and the school side. There's just so many pieces, and parents are exhausted, and they don't know what they don't know. And so I often speak to lots of different parents groups, just making sure they know what they don't know. I serve on a number of boards in the community to kind of provide that same service and guidance to those organizations.
Art, when I was a first-year lawyer, I'll never forget this, in doing plaintiff work for the first time, I was about to distribute money in one of my first cases to someone that was on SSI benefits, Social Security income, and right before I was about to do my distribution, a senior partner at my law firm asked me to send him the distribution sheet, which I did, and he looked at it, he said, okay, hey, learning moment here. We're not going to be distributing this money. You need to go talk to this expert that we use. And I said, well, explain it to me. And he said, you're about to help that person tremendously in the lawsuit, but you're going to eliminate their benefits. There are ways around that where you can protect the benefits and still help them with what you've done for the lawsuit. And that's where Jenny comes in.
Yes.
So let's do this. Take it from a 10,000-foot view of kind of what is this topic and how does it interplay in the legal world related to personal injury cases, for example, and how do we, what kind of benefits are we looking at to protect, if that makes sense?
Right. So when we talk about government benefits, we're really talking about needs-based government benefit programs. Those are programs where the individual is receiving assistance from the government if they're disabled and if they meet the asset threshold, which is $2,000, right? That $2,000 limit hasn't changed since like the 70s. But if an individual receives or has more than $2,000 of assets in their name, they can lose their government benefits. And for most clients, the SSI, which is $994 a month, is not the real benefit. The real benefit is the Medicaid coverage that comes along with SSI. When they lose that Medicaid, it could be disastrous because that's covering all of their medical expenses. It's maybe providing even through the Medicaid waiver program, and you're going to kick them out of that. So what a trust is it's just a rule book. You know, I always tell my clients, don't get discouraged or intimidated by the word trust. It's really just a document of rules. Who's in charge? You know, what you can spend the money for, what you can't spend the money for. And what the trust is it's just a shield. It's a protection where you put in place those funds that can be used for the benefit of the individual, but there are certain restrictions at play with how those funds are used.
And I think a lot of people hear the word trust a lot,
Yes.
but we're talking about a special needs trust.
Right.
What's the difference there?
So there are lots of differences. So there are tons of different trust structures you can use in estate planning for lots of different purposes. A special needs trust is a trust that's designed with very specific language, very specific rules, so that it complies with the federal regulations for that instrument. You can set up a special needs trust as part of your estate plan. So I mentioned earlier, I have a special needs trust for my daughter and my son. That's in the event that my husband and I pass away. What they would inherit will go to that trust instead of them individually. By going to the trust instead of them individually, their government benefits are protected.
Why is it that SSI and Medicaid benefits are impacted by a special needs trust, whereas Social Security retirement and some of the other benefits are not? And I've heard this concept of we're looking at needs-based benefits like SSI and Medicaid, but why are other benefits not impacted by receiving money, inheritance, a lawsuit, the way that SSI and Medicaid would be?
Great question. So SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, what we would have, because we've worked long enough and we've paid into the system, if we become disabled, we're going to draw back what we've put into the system. There is not an asset threshold for those benefits in order to qualify. Only with SSI, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, Section 8 housing are you going to have that asset and income threshold that you have to stay below.
This is why you go to someone like Jenny when you're about to resolve, for example, a lawsuit at my law firm with our 10 lawyers. You know, we're all well versed now and educated on making sure that we don't make a mistake for a client in that respect. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the logistics of how this would work, when you'd get Jenny involved, and what impact she would have. For example, in a personal injury case when we're about to distribute money to someone who has needs-based benefits.
I talk about we always put together the right people. Jenny's amazing.
For sure.
We can tell that
For
already.
sure.
And we're
For sure.
just getting started, so you've come to the right place. Also want to remind you there's another place you can go, several places in fact. You can go to follow Hollis Wright throughout the week. We are on all social media platforms, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. Great information there, and when you find that information, something that works for you, share it with someone else so they can get that information as well. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue this discussion as you are watching The Attorneys. We'll be right back.
Here's some good information from our firm to you. Hollis Wright recently launched the Law Talk podcast. With podcasts becoming so popular, this will be a simple way to provide our loyal viewers with more opportunities to access information about important legal topics and to learn more about our firm and how we can help you if the need ever arises. There are many ways to access the Law Talk podcast. You can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Also, episodes are always available on the Hollis Wright YouTube channel, as well as on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Just search up Hollis Wright in the Law Talk podcast. Don't wait, take advantage and listen today. Thanks for watching The Attorneys, and we know you'll enjoy the Law Talk podcast.
The Attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you.
When we started the show in 2011, my goal was to do what our firm does best. Help people answer questions related to real-world legal issues they have in their lives in a way that's not intimidating to talk with a lawyer. If the issue is important to you, it's equally important to us, and we're ready to talk with you at no cost.
Yeah, oftentimes people are confronting various legal issues in their lives that really run the gamut of a lot of different legal practice areas such as bankruptcy, criminal law, civil law such as personal injury, divorces, domestic relations. And to be able to have a show once a week that covers those practice areas and answers people's questions in those areas, that's really the main objective of the show.
We use the resources of the many lawyers at our law firm to create a plan that has a lasting impact for each person that calls or texts. And we also give back to the community at the same time. We are here to serve you, the viewer, each week on The Attorneys.
If this place could talk, it wouldn't. It would sing and celebrate all of our stories of addiction recovery, victory, and community. This is Bradford Health Services. It all changes here.
You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis Wright.
Welcome back. So glad you are joining us. We're talking about special needs trusts and preserving SSA benefits. You've come to the right place. You're watching The Attorneys. As we come back, Jenny, you wanted to get into the logistics of this. How do you get involved, or when do you get involved in a situation like this?
So I get involved at many different stages of the process. A lot of the times, attorneys will contact me because they have a case that they anticipate getting a settlement. Their client may be already on benefits, or they need to go on benefits, and they need that assistance to make sure that they are getting their client on all of the benefits that they qualify for, ensuring that when a payment does come out, that it's not going to be counted while it's sitting in like the attorney's trust account, that we have the proper orders in place to convey those assets that are being part of the settlement into the trust. So there are lots of different components. Sometimes I get involved because, we're going to have a lawsuit, but the individual's disabled and we need to do a guardianship petition before we do the disability and before we do the special needs trust. So it can be at any kind of step along the process of the litigation.
And you really need an expert too to do this. It's not like a lawyer that handles personal injury lawsuits or one that does criminal defense would be able to step in and do this. So you need someone to lead, guide, and direct you. This is honestly why we do the television show, right? We do the television show to bring experts on that we build relationships with that we can use moving forward for the benefit of our clients. And so Jenny's a great example of that. I know this is even more complicated because, you know, I've learned not just from you, but from others that, you know, when you hit 65, special needs trusts may not even apply to you anymore.
Yeah.
I know that there are first party and third party special needs trusts. Kind of unwrap that just a little bit for us, like the types of different special needs trusts that you would have that people have access to.
Yes. So it's a great question. There are, I would say, 3 main types of special needs trusts that we work with. The first would be a third-party special needs trust. That's where we're going to have a special needs trust, and it's going to be funded with money from other individuals, mom and dad, an inheritance, grandpa, grandma, you know, aunts and uncles. Everyone can give to that trust. The only funds that can't go into a third-party trust would be assets already in the name of the disabled individual. Now, a first-party trust is a trust that we would set up in a personal injury case. Those are very common in those types of situations. So we would use that for any recovery over $2,000 into that first-party trust if the individual is under the age of 65, as you indicated. Now, if the individual is over the age of 65, then our options are limited and we can only use a pooled trust, which a pooled trust is going to be through the Alabama Family Trust. So a pooled trust is for any aged individual and is often used if we don't have a trustee who could be trusted to kind of manage those assets in the trust. But otherwise, a first party is what I typically encourage my clients to go with, just because it's easier to kind of navigate and utilize.
So let's talk about this first party trust, because you've raised some good issues. The reason that we have a special needs trust generally is to allow the assets to be used for the benefit of the individual that has needs-based benefits or is disabled,
Yes.
but not have direct access to those, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So the disabled individual and or their spouse can never serve as the trustee.
Okay.
And your trustee, just think of it as like the CEO of the trust, is the person who decides when money comes out of the trust, how assets are distributed. They also determine how the funds in the trust are invested. So they're kind of the person in charge.
So the source of the money matters.
Yes, it does matter. That's what makes the difference between a first, third, and pooled.
This is important. It's an important distinction. When we talk in terms of a trustee, what Jenny, I think, would tell us is the trustee doesn't generally have to be a third party you don't know. It could be a family member who has to follow very strict rules. But the goal here is to allow the person that has either a SSI or Medicaid, a needs-based benefit, to still receive their needs-based benefit, but also have access through a trustee to other resources that they don't have direct access to. This is really no different. We've done shows in the past about generation skipping trusts,
Right.
where parents want to allow for something related to a grandchild, and they don't want to give the money directly to the grandchild, but want to put it in a trust in such a way where it is protected and it is not an asset of that individual child until certain circumstance happen. This is no different. You're allowing a trustee ultimately to have access to this money, but also make sure you don't lose your benefits. Now, one of the questions, I know that someone watching this saying, hey, I have a disabled child, or I have Medicaid and I'm about to settle my lawsuit, has, and they're thinking to themselves is, well, how do I get access to that money? Can I still use that money, and what can I use it for? Let's talk about that for a minute, because they have wide discretion to be able to make requests to the trustee to access that money.
That's correct. So there are certain restrictions with the special needs trust of how the funds can be used. The most important restrictions are going to be anything that government benefits are paying for, the trust can't pay for. So think about housing. SSI pays at $994 a month, and it is intended to pay for housing. So you're not going to use trust funds to pay for housing because they're receiving SSI for that. But what you can do is use the trust to pay for any expenses for the individual. You can also use the ABLE account, which is another tool at our disposal, to fund the ABLE account, and then the ABLE account could then pay for housing. So there are ways around some of these restrictions by using the tools available to us, the ABLE account and the special needs trust together.
I know we're getting ready to go to break. When we come back, I want Jenny to unwrap a little bit more this issue of there are other things that you can use this money for, like quality of life and some of the other things. I want to talk about how she advises clients that have a special needs trust on how to access that money and to do it correctly without losing their benefits.
All right, we'll do that. You've come to the place where you're getting a lot of great information, and not only do we share this information in this conversation, you also see information scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We want to make sure that you're up to date there as well. There are also a couple of numbers there. You can text those numbers to reach someone at Hollis Wright. We make it so easy for you to contact Hollis Wright, where you can get a free and confidential attorney to talk to you about any question you may have. The number, 1-888-LAW-TALK. We'll be right back right after this.
Thank you for watching The Attorneys each Sunday night, where we come to your living room to provide free legal advice in a confidential, off-air setting. Unfortunately, with the number of calls, texts, and emails that come in during the show, we can't always get to everything. But know this, Hollis Wright is open all week long. You call us at 844-LAW-TALK and we're going to answer your question for free. Thank you for watching The Attorneys, and we look forward to seeing you and talking to you soon.
Addiction kills hope.
But at Bradford, it all changes here.
Experience the difference
that proven treatment can make.
Find recovery. Find community.
at Bradford.
You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis Wright.
Welcome back. You are watching The Attorneys. I want to remind you, pay attention to the number at the bottom of your screen. Not always what comes out of my mouth with the number. It's 1-844-LAW-TALK. That's 1-844-LAW-TALK, and you can reach an attorney at Hollis Wright for a free confidential call. We want to get right back into it. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but this is so important.
Let's talk just for a second about, like, what can you use the special needs trust assets for, where you don't have direct access to them, but if you need them to live your life, so to speak, what can you use them for? And let's make sure that's clear.
So I usually say anything for that individual, anything that individual needs for living their life. Think about what the benefits do, right? So our benefits for SSI cover housing, Medicaid covers insurance and medical needs, SNAP benefits will cover food. All your other needs for your individual who has a disability aren't being covered by those programs. So for your loved one, that money will have to come from that pot, that special needs trust, to pay for clothes, shoes, transportation, education, electronics. You know, if they want a computer, a TV, they want to go on vacation, anything that they need to have a full life is going to need to come from that trust, because government benefits are only providing for those basics, those basic day-to-day needs. So it will be everything else.
Mm-hmm. Also got to remember that inheritance can impact your benefits. Can you talk about that, please?
Yes. So I always tell my families, if you have a child with a disability and you pass away unexpectedly and you have no will, if you own a vehicle, it's going to be, your child's going to inherit more than $2,000, right? So it's really critical that if you have a child with a diagnosis, a disability, that you think maybe they're not on benefits right now, but you think when they turn 18 or 19, their disability is going to impact or impair their ability to have a full-time job. You really need to have that special needs trust established as part of your estate plan. And when you do that, also kind of keep in mind, I have lots of clients who will ask, I have multiple children, do I do equal shares? For most of my families, they know that their child with a disability, number one, have extraordinary expenses with their medical needs. And number two, they're only earning $994 a month, and it's capped at that. So your child is never going to earn more. So leaving more for them may be necessary so that they have that quality of life that you want for your child.
I get this question a lot, actually 2 questions. I want to ask one at a time. What happens if a mistake is made, someone receives money, do they lose their benefits forever, or do they have an opportunity down the road to reapply for them when that money's spent?
Yeah, that's a great question. So they won't be gone forever. You'll have to spend your money down below $2,000 to requalify, or we take those funds, move them into a special needs trust, and then bam, you're qualified again. It's getting that asset limit back below $2,000. So long as we can move those assets over into a protected kind of shield or tool, which would be your special needs trust or your ABLE account, then you would requalify. So your benefits will be temporarily suspended while your assets have exceeded $2,000.
Now, also, when you look at this issue, I have clients sometimes that say, well, I'm receiving all of this money, I'm okay losing my benefits. And I say, well, hold on now. You have major health care needs.
Yes.
Who is your health care right now? And they say, well, Medicaid is. And I say, well, all right, what happens when you lose your Medicaid? This money is now going to be spent. Is your plan to spend it on your health care? They're like, okay, well, I hadn't really thought through that. And so, that's a big issue.
It is a big issue, and we don't know what your medical needs will be in the future. So you're kind of taking a risk or a gamble. I always tell my clients, if your child is in their 20s or 30s, they're at their peak health, right? It's only going downhill from there. And that's because as we age, we get sicker. And so it's really important not to just think about right now when you're thinking about whether to have a special needs trust, but really thinking about the future and how this trust can be used for you without depleting it for things like paying for health insurance when you could have Medicaid.
The reality about a special needs trust, when I kind of look at it and process it in my brain, first of all, I go to people like Jenny to lead me through this process with our clients. But it's intended to supplement government benefits, not replace them, not to eliminate those benefits. It's intended to supplement, and if you do it correctly, you can make it all work. So this has been a great topic. Jenny McInerney, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
You've been awesome, and this is a great topic. I know if people have questions, they'll get to us and we'll get them to you. Thank you for being on and talking about this.
Absolutely fascinating conversation, of course, as we unpack that. You get great information here. Go ahead and make an appointment to do it again next week, where you can catch another episode of The Attorneys. We do it, same place, same time. Hope to have you with us again as we bring you yet another fascinating show next week. We'll see you back.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.